Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Super Action Statue JoJo's Bizarre Adventure KARS figure, which is one I reviewed a long time ago. You guys asked me to re-review it since the other Pillarmen came out again. Actually, he came out again too. They all came out again recently, and I reviewed those other ones for the first time. So I've been getting some comments on the JoJo figure reviews saying that the character designs are somewhat questionable. And you're absolutely right. They most definitely are. If you know the show, if you become familiar with the show, you'll understand that the designs are meant to be purposefully crazy and unrealistic and goofy and questionable. But the characters themselves have your very archetypal personalities. Like, all of the Pillarmen are completely super masculine and not at all what their character designs may or may not indicate. Though the designs aren't, I will note, aren't that far off from some historic garb. For instance, the Spartans, everybody's familiar with them from the movie 300. They were known for not wearing a whole lot. A lot of people didn't in a warm climate back then, and these designs are somewhat based on those. Were they flamboyant like these guys? Probably not, but the characters themselves are not that. So if you get into the show, you'll understand it. If you don't be deterred by the character designs. They become part of the character. You'll understand it if you get into the show. If not, then you're just going to have to accept that it's a guy almost naked with a lot of pink hair. That's just the way it is. So let's go ahead and get this guy off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just shy of 6 3/4 inches, which makes him pretty close to 17 centimeters. And he's pretty much in scale with all the other figures that were released at this same time and for this same show. Obviously, not all of the JoJo's parts, the different series, are connected scale-wise, but they are within their own parts, so it should be okay. And this guy doesn't have a whole lot to talk about design-wise. It's mostly a naked dude with a loincloth. They did do a lot of shading on the skin. I very much appreciate that. His skin is somewhat yellow. You'll notice at his elbows, the joints themselves have more of a peachy color to them. I think that would be a more appropriate color, but still, with all of the shading, and obviously he's very stylized with pink hair and whatnot, it's okay. The only thing that really stands out to me as being a problem is that the hip piece is not quite the right color. Maybe it's not showing up on camera if you look at his butt cheeks. Yeah, you can kind of see right here. It's a little bit too much yellow. I don't know what happened there, but that is the case. They did do a good job painting the wrist things and the boots, and all the paint applications are very clean. It's very nice. The face, as always, one of the best things about the figure. They did a wonderful job painting it. Very anime-esque, very accurate to the character design. And then the hair does have shading throughout and some other detailed pieces on there. Sculpt work is very stylized, but it does match the show, so that is acceptable. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be, so that's good. Really, not much to complain about aesthetically, other than the few issues like the mismatched joints and then this part right here. So I'll give it an 8 on a figure that doesn't have much going on. Those do stand out, but there is shading everywhere, and once you pose him, it's gonna look pretty spiffy on your shelf. I really like the way they handle the metallics as well, so that's pretty good. As far as accessories go, we do have an alternate head, so we have the one where all of his hair is out, and then we have the one where he's all wrapped up. We have a bunch of different hands. We obviously have the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, 2 karate chop hands, and then just a bunch of other style pose hands. I'm not going to try to come up with a name for each set. We do have the wrist things that come on them in the package, which are just plain little wrap type things or bands, whatever you want to call them, bracers. Then we have the ones with the big blades on them, so those are pretty cool. And then lastly, we have, as far as actual accessories go, we have the 2 different versions of the mask. And we do have a display stand. That's why I said real accessories, yes, but then also a display stand, which is nice. We don't always get display stands with our import figures these days. Now remember, these guys came out originally a long time ago, so some of these issues can be forgiven. However, they are quite expensive now, so do consider that when purchasing them now. When they came out originally, they were at the $40 to $60 price point, depending on which ones you were buying. So I'm reviewing it based on that, not this secondhand pricing that we see from most domestic retailers, or second or third party pricing from eBay, that kind of stuff. I'm basing the review on the original MSRP, not what they're being sold for now. That is basically based on demand rather than the actual product. Does that make sense? It should make sense. Okay, so accessory-wise, I'm going to just give it an 8. Could go 9. I could go 9, I guess. Lots of accessories. I'll go 9. 9 for the accessories. Okay, for the articulation, the hair is articulated up there. We have a ball hinge. We have one here. We have one here. We have one here. And we have one here. Every part you see that sticks out is articulated. Is that useful? Not so much. You might be able to use it to some degree for different poses, but it's not like there's a particular way you can do it that makes it look good other than in a neutral pose as far as I'm concerned, but it is technically there. The head is connected on a ball peg on top of a hinge, and then the neck is on a ball peg as well with all of that hair. It's a little bit tricky to do anything with any of it, but technically it'll work. The hinge works very well. The ball peg mostly just holds the head on top of the neck. The next ball peg is where you're getting most of your range, and I think that's okay. It'll be enough. You can get the head posed around well enough. For the shoulders, we have our standard ball hinge outside of a butterfly joint. The butterfly joint is actually really nice, and this piece right here is flexible enough that it still functions and hides the joint pretty well, so they did a good job with that. Now the shoulders, can't raise them up very well. That's definitely a bummer. You do get your full rotation out of them. That's not an issue, but raising them up, not gonna work. Bicep swivel is there. That's good, traditional bicep swivel. We have a double ball hinge, so you do get your hinge, which is really nicely done. That's really nice. I said that twice, and it is nice. You can rotate there as well for another bicep swivel. Doesn't serve that much purpose, but you can do it. And then for the wrists, we have another ball hinge. It's recessed into the wrist thing though, so that's gonna be virtually no range as long as you leave the gauntlet thingies on there. For the torso, we have a single ball peg at the top. You do get really nice range out of it though. Very, very nice. Side to side is good. You do get some rotation. Be careful you don't scratch it too much. If you're careful and you really want to, you can get a lot of rotation. So that's fine. Then we have another ball peg down here where the abdomen meets the crotch area. A lot more range. If you use it to its extent though, you do get a little bit of a gap. So just be aware of that. But it does add plenty of range. Use them both together and he'll have no problem at all. For the hips, it's just your basic ball peg. So it could have a lot of range, but the way it's sculpted, it doesn't really out to the side. Probably enough, but it is somewhat limited. This piece is not soft. So when you raise the legs, be careful you don't grind it up against there. And the legs can go up a little bit, not a ton, but they do have to go out to the side because of the loincloth. They do go back a little bit, and you do get a thigh swivel out of that ball peg and at this separation as well, though the ball peg tends to do most of the work. For the knees, you have a ball hinge and a regular hinge. Really, really good range out of that. The kneecap is a separate sculpted piece, so that kind of hides the joint nicely. You can rotate at the ball hinge if you want to. If you don't. For the ankles, we have another ball hinge which goes all the way back, and that is good. But going all the way forward is a problem because this hinged piece, even though it's hinged, doesn't go that far forward. There's just too much plastic in the way, so it can't go far forward. You could take that out and trim it out and then have better range, but then you wouldn't have that piece, and that doesn't help the figure, so that kind of sucks. You can rotate it for an ankle rocker, and it does work pretty well, so that is a good thing. And the toe hinge, while it's in the right place, it doesn't look bad. It is relatively floppy, and as usual, the toe hinge is kind of worthless. That's almost always the case when it comes to action figures. So articulation on this guy for the time was exceptional. Now it is just acceptable. Most of it works pretty well, some of it doesn't work all that well, so it averages out to, let's say, 7. I think it's a fair 7. It's all there, some of it doesn't work wonderfully. I think that's okay. So 7 for the articulation. So final verdict on this guy. When it came out at that price point, it was a for sure 100% awesome release. Nowadays, it's really expensive, so it comes down to personal desire. Do you want to spend that kind of money? Again, I'm reviewing it based on its original MSRP, which was only, I think, like 50 USD, probably, something like that. Pretty close to that. I'm going to give it an overall rating of 8. Based on current pricing, you'll have to decide if you want it. Because like I said, the current pricing is pretty much based on demand and not on the actual product. So decide for yourself what you think about that. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to give you the details, the facts. You can do with them what you please. So there it is, guys. Let me know what you think about all these naked buff guys from JoJo's. It's only the bad guys. All the regular characters have normal clothes on. So, and these guys are not regular. Just watch the show. If you're at least a little bit curious, watch the show. What is this one? Stardust Crusaders? I don't remember anymore. Anyway, watch the part that has these guys in it and you'll get it. But otherwise, that's it for me. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you probably should, because I have new videos out just about every single day. And for the days I don't, I have thousands of videos already on the channel for you to enjoy. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.